Welcome everyone. I'm delighted to be your culinary guide today. We are making paella. Whenever you're looking to feed a gathering, something, that will build community, it's a one dish meal. It's super easy. Paella is the way to go, and I'm excited to show you how to do that today. So if you are new here for the first time, I'd love for you to find that reaction button and give me a raised hand. I want to welcome you. And then for those of you who have been here for a while, find that chat button. I want to hear your comments. I want to see those questions. I have Austin here, who is my moderator. He's going to help me keep track of all of that in the chat window. Look at all those hands, y'all. Welcome. I am so glad that you are here today. We begin every session with just a quick presentation on why we do these sessions. And also we talk about the ingredients that we're going to be working with today. I really believe it's important to have an understanding of the ingredients that you cook with in your kitchen and something of their history so that you feel connected to your food. It just brings a whole level of enjoyment to your time in the kitchen when you understand some of what's behind the food that you're making. All right, so here we go. I am going to share my screen, and we're going to talk about paella. Everybody, let's see. Austin, can you see my screen? Everything good? Okay, awesome. Let's get started with paella. Now, before we talk about paella, for those of you who are new, what is the most important question you ask every day? What is it? It is simply this: what's for dinner? What's for dinner is the most important question you ask every day. And here's how that conversation typically goes. What do you want? I don't know. What do you want? You're probably conversing with a significant other, family members, friends. Even if you're single, you ask this question, you pose this question to yourself every day. I live alone. I ask myself this question every day. What is for dinner? Now, conversations typically go like this. Let's cook. Yay, we're all excited. We want to cook. We love to cook, right? We love to feed ourselves well. Cooking is the best way to feed ourselves well. And then we go, wait, we don't have the ingredients on hand for that. No, we had that last week. I'm tired of that, right? I don't know what to cook. I'm out of ideas. I don't have time to cook. I'm too tired to cook. Man, it simply may be that you don't know how to cook. And that's what these sessions are for. They are here to inspire you, to give you some skills so that you can answer that most important question of the day, because it's a long road to hoe to get to okay. Then the other road we may travel when we ask ourselves this question at the end of the day is, let's eat. And then you go, oh yeah, let's eat. And then our choices are, okay, eat out, take out, or drive through. And let me tell you that restaurant meals today are 4 times larger than they were in the 1950s. They provide way more calories than you need at any given meal. Guess what? It's expensive. So let's cook the road most traveled and our default road. And today I'm going to show you how to make paella so that can be one of your choices. Now here's my favorite ancient philosopher, Hippocrates. He is considered the father of modern medicine. Our modern day medical systems are built upon the ideas of this man. The most important thing he said is this: let your medicine be your food and your food be your medicine. Let's begin to think about that evening meal differently. Let's begin to think as food as nourishment, not just fuel. And because all of that food that we consume gives us vitamins and minerals and things that we need for our journey. Practical benefits of cooking: have it your way. Once you learn to cook and you're preparing your own food, you think, why am I going to go out and have somebody prepare that food in a way that doesn't necessarily satisfy? I could do it better at home and less expensively. Learn to cook with what you have on hand. So begin to think of your pantry as the paints that you would paint on a canvas, It's your ingredients. And think about, instead of going, I don't have anything for that recipe, begin to think of your pantry as, oh, I have this on hand, this on hand, and this on hand. I can assemble those ingredients in this way and make myself something really delicious. That will help you reduce the number of trips to the grocery store. Grocery stores are expensive, and so is gas. So spend the least amount of time you can there and use what you have already on hand. Now, the most important benefit of cooking is simply this. Leave ample time for the most important activity in life, which is life at the table. That's why the name of my company is Life at the Table. It's not life in the kitchen. I want to help you make short work of what goes on here so you can do what's really important, which is behind that wall for me in my dining room. And that is spending time with friends and family around the table, having conversation and creating community. Now, if you're single, you still need to create some margin in your life at the end of the day where it's just you and maybe a delicious plate of food, and you kind of meditate, pray, whatever you want to do during that time, and create margin in your life so that you're filled up, body, soul, and spirit for the next day. All right, now, last week we did hot wings, and today is paella. We have a whole host of other classes coming up in August. Please register. Also, know that the hot wings, there is a recorded session on my website. I hope that we'll be able to do those. If you go and look up hot wings on lifeatthetable.com, you will find a video there of that class. So if you missed last week's session, you can watch it there on my website, lifeatthetable.com. Also, coming up in August, we already have 3 sessions. The 15th is going to be chili mac. So that is like comfort food, simple, again, one skillet dish that you're going to love. Shish kebabs on the 22nd, chili macs on the 15th, shish kebabs on the 22nd, crab cakes on the 29th. So register, tell your coworkers, don't miss out. Now, here is the beautiful dish that we are going to prepare today, paella. Now, before I start talking to you about all of the ingredients and some of my cooking tips, I'm going to get started on cooking paella. Then I'm going to come back to this presentation and we'll talk about some of the ingredients that go into it because this has to cook a little while. Now, I'm going to bring, well, first of all, I'm going to bring my camera. Nope, I'm going to leave my camera there. Second of all, I'm going to leave it there. And we're going to start by heating this skillet. This is a paella pan. It's a 10-inch paella pan. And so we're going to begin by just gently heating that pan. Now, when you heat cookware, you always want to, before you add oil to any kind of a pan, right, you always want to heat it at least just a little bit. So remember this, hot pan, cold oil, hot pan, cold oil. I'm heating up this cast iron. Now, this is Victoria cast iron. I believe it's out of Peru. Their recommendations is that you heat their cast iron on a low heat. When I cook with Lodge cast iron, they recommend, hey, heat it on high heat. So always be familiar with your cookware so that you can get the most out of its performance by interacting with it according to what the manufacturer recommends. I also have a larger paella pan over here. This is ceramic coated cast iron. It's huge. This is 13 inches. This is a 10-inch paella pan. This one here also recommends that you heat it on low heat. So, all right, Austin, while my cast iron heats up, do we have any questions?
No questions, but we do have a couple comments.
Okay.
A couple people said that the hot wings recipe was absolutely delicious.
Awesome.
A little hot for some people, but absolutely delicious otherwise.
Okay.
What else? A few years ago, my brother and I were struggling with using what we had on hand, so we decided to challenge each other. I would go to his house, cook a meal with what he had, and he would come to my place and prepare a meal with things that I had. We got creative, and it was lots of fun.
How fun. I love that idea. You know, people always ask me, hey, what is your favorite thing to cook? And I'm like, you know what? My favorite thing to cook is just to open up my refrigerator, see what I have on hand, and make something. Honestly, that's what I get my biggest joy from in the evenings. And I told y'all a story last week about how I was hungry, didn't know what I was going to cook, and then I went, wait a minute, I got this, and this, and I put together a pasta dish that made me stand up and do the happy dance, right? So, and it came together in 30 minutes. So, all right, my cast iron is hot. Well, okay, what is it?
Do you need a special paella pan to make this, or can you
That is such a great question. Give me 1 second. Let me get this started, and I will answer that. Okay, into this paella pan, chopped onions, and I will back up and show you how to chop an onion and do all of that stuff in just a minute. I've got some bell pepper, red bell pepper. It can be any color that you want. I recommend not green. Green's a little bit more bitter than the yellow, the red, and the orange. And then I've got some chopped tomato here. So I'm going to show you how to chop all of that in just a moment. But I'm going to saute it, get that baby going. And I don't want my skillet to go dry. So I'm going to add just a little bit more olive oil to that. And always I layer in salt as I cook. And layering just means adding a little bit of salt to your dish as you cook, so that at the end you're not hitting it with a salt bomb, but that the salt is cooked and absorbed by, the different ingredients as you go along. So I'm just going to add a tiny, tiny bit of salt there. So the question is, do you need a paella pan to cook paella? Absolutely not. Now, the unique characteristics of a paella pan is that it is wide. It's really wide and it's shallow. So this one obviously is a lot bigger than the one that I'm cooking on. All you need is, for example, this recipe is scaled for a 10-inch paella pan. I would say if you have a 12-inch skillet, you're golden. Because the key to cooking paella is you want a lot of surface area for that rice to lay on. And we'll talk about this in a minute, but it's called succorat. And that truly is the most prized part of the paella dish, because when that rice cooks, it browns, and people will, fight over that bottom layer of rice. So this is scaled for 10-inch paella pan. Use a 12-inch skillet, and you will be just fine. So I'm just going to let this saute for just a couple of more minutes. And the next ingredient I'm going to add in here is my favorite. Do we have any garlic lovers? I know we do. I know we have garlic lovers. So the recipe calls for a tablespoon of garlic. Did I do a tablespoon of garlic? No, I did more than a tablespoon of garlic. Yeah, I see those hands and those thumbs up. All right, so let's see here. I see we have some more questions. Okay,
Yeah, what pan do you recommend if you have an electric glass cooktop and cast iron scratches the glass?
Oh, okay, then it can be any kind of a skillet that you have on hand that works on your glass top. Just make it a larger skillet. Again, so this is a 10-inch paella pan. Don't use a 10-inch skillet, but use like a 12-inch skillet, just something larger, so you've got that surface area to cook your rice. All right, just 1 second, Austin, let me do this. I am adding in garlic. I'm going to tell you, my kitchen smells amazing. My kitchen actually started smelling amazing after I chopped all these vegetables. The aromatics of the onion and the garlic, as I prepared for class this morning, was absolutely delightful, and I love it. So we've just softened these vegetables. I've added in that garlic for another wonderful layer of flavor. The next thing that we're going to do is I'm going to add the spice mixture. So I have 2 tablespoons of the spice mixture, which I set over here. And you may be wondering, what is this spice mixture? You can see there in the paella recipe that you shared earlier, right, Austin? Yeah. Yes. Okay. There, yeah. So it's there. So this is my paella seasoning that I am using here. I don't share the recipe. You have a couple of choices. I would say go on my website, look at my paella seasoning. You can use those same seasonings, come up with your own, or if you want, you can purchase them, and there's a little link on the website. So, do whatever you would like. So the reason why I put the seasoning in here before any liquid is I like these seasonings to toast up, get a little heat on them. It helps those seasonings to release their flavor compounds, and that's really all I need. And now I'm going to turn down this heat to low. The other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add in this rice. So I have 1 cup of arborio rice here, and I'm simply going to layer these vegetables there, kind of an even layer. Oh, my kitchen's smelling amazing at the moment. And I'm going to take this rice, I'm going to put it layered really evenly over those vegetables in that seasoning. Okay, the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take 3 cups of stock. Now I have chicken stock, it could be vegetable stock. You can make your own vegetable stock. There's a recipe on my website for the vegetable stock. You can purchase it. I love making stock. I'm just out. So store-bought chicken stock is what I have. And then you're just going to lightly and evenly pour this in. Now I pour it in around the edges first because this pan is hot. It's been hot sauteing those vegetables and that seasoning. And so when I pour this liquid in, it tends to bubble up. So I cool the pan down a little bit, and then I simply add my stock, all of three cups of that beautiful stock. Now, the one thing you're going to be tempted to do at this point in time is stir. And I'm going to tell you, don't stir. You definitely don't want to stir this at this point. You do want to turn the heat back up. I'm going to let this come to a simmer, and it's going to simmer for 10 minutes. And then we're going to talk about the ingredients during that 10-minute time. I'm going to answer these questions, but you don't want to stir. So once that rice is in that skillet, we want it to settle on the bottom of that skillet. That's going to help us create that crispy crust called saccharat that is really highly prized with paella. Now, I'm going to turn this all the way up because I want to see a simmer. I want to see it bubbling. Let me do this. Let me grab this, move it over this flame a little bit more. Move this over so you get a better view of it. Okay. And again, that back burner is on because my front burner, it clicks when my front burner's on. Okay. Now, I'm just going to leave that on high until I see it simmering. So let me go back over here. It looks like we have not seven, but a whole bunch of questions. Where shall we start, Austin?
What kind of rice did you use?
Oh, great question. And I may not even have to pull up the rest of my presentation. The rice that I used is arborio. In fact, you know what? Before I go any further, let me finish this presentation, and I may answer some of these questions, and then we'll come back to the questions. Does that sound okay, Austin? Okay. Okay. All right. Hold on one second. Let me do that. Takes a hot minute to get back to my presentation. There we go. Okay. Share. Now let me start from here and play it again. Okay. I may answer some of these questions. If not, we will go over these questions for sure. So I'm starting to see a little bubble there. I'm super excited about that. All right. So just a little history of paella. Paella has its roots in Valencia, Spain. I like to refer to it as the original potluck lunch because all of these field workers, and this was, 150, 200 years ago whenever this dish popped up, all of these field workers would gather at the midday meal, and they brought whatever they had. So some of them brought rice, some of them brought chicken, rabbit, spices, and they cooked this dish over an open fire. Now, the pan that they used to cook this dish was a shallow pan with a large diameter, sound familiar, flat bottomed with 2 handles. This pan was called a paella pan. So this dish is actually named after that pan. But again, you don't have to have a paella pan to make this delicious dish on a weeknight. Now, I see my paella is simmering, and I am going to turn down the heat. I want to maintain that simmer. Does not have to simmer like volcanically on high heat, so I'm going to turn the heat down to maintain that simmer, and I am going to set my timer for 10 minutes. All right, there's 10 minutes. Whew, it's smelling good in here. All right, now, paella cooking tips. I think some of these we have already talked about. Well, I haven't answered the question about rice because I knew it was here. So traditional paella in Spain, they use a rice called bamba. Bamba is really short, a short grain rice. It has the ability to absorb a lot of liquid without becoming mushy. And in the United States, it's expensive. So in Spain, it's widely available, and that's what they use in Spain. So what do we use here that is widely available? For us, it's arborio rice. It's a short grain rice, has the ability to absorb a lot of liquid, which is what you want, and to create that soakerot on the bottom of the pan, but not as expensive as bamba. I do believe you can find bamba over here, but I just don't think it's worth, the expedition to go looking for it. Now, number 2, properly size your pan. We've already talked a lot about that. If you have a 10-inch skillet, don't use a 10-inch skillet. Use a 12-inch skillet. If you have a paella pan, great. This one is sized for 10-inch. If you have a 13-inch, like the larger one that I showed you earlier, then you're going to need to double the recipe so that you can fill that pan up. Now, we've already talked about this. Don't stir. Embrace the soakerot. And then after your paella has cooked, we'll get to the final stage. You always want your paella to rest. So you're going to cover it and rest it. In Spain, they cover it with newspapers that they have laying around. I'm going to use a lid today. I don't have any newspapers. Haven't had a newspaper in a long time around here. You always want to rest your paella. And honestly, that would be a tip from me to you. Let's say you're making a rice pilaf. Anytime you're cooking rice, let it rest. There is a point to which it's done and there's no more liquid in the pan, but you still want to let that rice rest covered, because it will just continue to absorb any of that moisture that's left in there, and let that rice fluff up really, really nicely. So always let your rice rest after you've cooked it. All right, that's it in terms of paella. For my tips, if you want my top 10 vegetables and fruits for weeknight cooking, text the word cook to 66866. I will be happy to send that to you. And again, remember that your pantry is your most important resource for answering the most important question of the day: what's for dinner? Because if you don't have anything on hand to cook with, you won't be able to come home and cook. It will be really, really difficult. So I highly recommend you have some fresh vegetables and fruits around to do that with. Now, if you want to know more about Life at the Table, you can visit me, lifeatthetable.com. I do have a podcast. I highly recommend that you listen to it. Each segment's 3 or 4 minutes long. I talk about cooking tips and techniques. I try to inspire you with recipes and information. I am on Spotify and iTunes. And then you can follow me on all of those social media channels, and you can join my community on Life at the Table where people post recipes and we talk about cooking. So that's that. Let me stop sharing. All right, let me go back over here to questions. Austin, where are we in terms of questions? Austin?
There we go. What kind of oil did you use?
Oh, okay. So I cook with 2 oils in my kitchen. The oil I used for paella was olive oil. The other oil that I have in my kitchen is avocado oil. I would use avocado oil for higher temperature needs. And I guess I have a third oil, which you saw last week when I did the hot wings class, peanut oil. So I deep fry only with peanut oil. And then avocado oil for really high temperature use, and then olive oil for everything else. My paella is looking beautiful and it's smelling amazing. All right.
Next one is, I thought that was, I guess that's it. I thought there was another question. Oh, wait, no, there it is. Does the rice need to be dry, or pre-washed?
No, just take the rice out of the package. Don't wash it. Yeah, no need to wash it. In fact, I don't wash or rinse rice for anything. So, except there are some rice that you really do need to rinse. And off the top of my head, I do believe it's basmati rice. But even jasmine rice, I don't rinse it. White rice, I don't rinse it. Brown rice, wild rice, I don't rinse. Yeah, don't rinse it. It'll save you some time in the kitchen.
Oh, sweet. One more question. What can
Sure.
be used if you're not a seafood fan?
Oh, perfect. That is a great question. So if you're not a seafood fan, here is what I recommend. Do cook some chicken, cook some steak. You know, if you like exotic proteins, cook some rabbit. That was really traditional. And then just lay that on top of the paella.
And can you use, one sec. Can you use brown rice?
That is such a great question. Brown rice, the difference between brown rice and white rice is brown rice still has that outer layer of bran. White rice, that bran has been polished off. So as you can imagine, if the brown rice has that outer layer, there's another layer that the water has to go through to cook that rice. It will take a lot longer than 20 minutes. So frankly, I would not use brown rice for this. If you wanted to, you could come up with a form of this dish if you wanted to really use brown rice, that you've pre-cooked that brown rice, or at least par-cooked it some, so that when you put it in here, it would cook in the same amount as the white rice, the same amount of time as the white rice. Great questions. I'm loving it. So let's see. Lots of good discussions about glass top stoves and cast iron. I see some people use cast iron on their glass tops. Some people say it scratches them. I totally understand that. So somebody had asked what type of rice, arborio. We did that one. All right, so and then if I've missed any more, let me know, Austin, but I'm gonna move on. And that is, I'm gonna show you how to cook the mussels. So on the back burner here, finally it's gonna be put to use. I've got some water. I have my mussels here, and they're sitting on ice. And I'm gonna tell you, see that mussel there? That one has opened up since I pulled them out of the refrigerator just a little bit ago. Definitely don't want to use that mussel. And mussels should be, I wash them, right? And they're clean from any debris. They're very dirty. So you always want to rinse them. I've got these mussels here that are closed up, and you want to de-beard them. So I don't see any beards on any of these mussels. I thought there were some beards on them. Oh, here's one right here. I'll show you. Actually, here they are. They're stuck to the side of it. But this little string right here that hangs out of the mussel is called the beard. So you just want to simply pull on that and pull that out, because that is not something that's super appetizing for you. Now let me see, where's the other one that was kind of stuck to the side of the mussel? Well, now I don't see it. And then look, all of my mussels, there it is. This one even more. Can you see that, Austin, that beard? Yeah, you can see that, right? Okay, so we can just pull that out. There we go. It's all simple as that. And since I've been talking, that one mussel decided to close up again. So he's all closed up. I'm going to throw him in this water. That's all you have to do. I have a little bit of hot water there. I'm going to cover that up. I've got it on high. And I'm just going to let those mussels steam. It won't take 2 or 3 minutes. They're going to open up and they're going to be beautiful. And I will set them on top of my paella when it's done. All right, there's my 10-minute mark. So I'm going to turn that buzzer off. I'm going to walk over here and I'm going to grab my shrimp and I'm going to turn this down. I've gotten rid of a lot of that water, or excuse me, that liquid that was in my paella. I have peeled and deveined shrimp. So I'm going to lay them on top of here. And they're raw, they're not cooked, but they are going to cook up beautifully on top of this paella. You'll see, so how do they cook? It's all the steam that's coming up from this paella that's going to cook the shrimp. You'll see that they begin to turn pink. One more, I'm going to get one more on there. I'm going to turn you this way. There we go. And you can just load this up with, however many shrimp you want. You know what, let me just I've got 2 more here, 3 more. And then we're going to let that cook another 10 minutes. So let me set my timer. There we go. And let me get my tongs here in anticipation of turning these babies over. Now, my mussels, almost. I want them to come to a boil here. And they're not quite at a boil. Some of them have opened, but some of them haven't. So I'm just going to let them stay there. And then we'll pull those off and we'll put those on the paella after the paella is cooked. Any questions, Austin, at the moment? Let me get back over here so I can see. Oh, so somebody asked if you could share the wings recipe again, Austin. Oh, somebody did. Okay, so somebody did. Okay, thank you. Oh, yeah, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I think we're about to read the same thing. I was going to say, if you substitute chicken instead of the seafood, when would you add it to the paella, and should it be cooked separately first?
Yes, that is such a great question. So yes, you can substitute chicken. I also saw another comment where you can put sausage on top of it. So these shrimp are literally pinkening up. They're cooking on top of this paella. A chicken will not cook on top of the paella. Recommend that you cook that chicken separately. You can pan sear it, you can broil it, you can grill it, you can poach it however you want to, and then cut that chicken up, lay that on top of the paella. It's going to be amazing. Someone also said that they had a lot of sausage paellas in Spain. Absolutely. Add some Spanish sausage to your paella. Again, you could, if it's sausage that needs to be cooked, saute it in that pan before you put your rice and all of that other stuff in there, and cook that sausage. So you just want to make sure your proteins are cooked. Shrimp is a little unique in that it doesn't take much for this shrimp to cook. Look, can you guys see that one that I just turned over? It's halfway cooked already. This is all it takes for shrimp to cook on top of a paella. So for those of you who love shrimp, this is a super simple meal. and super fast. You can see how quickly it comes together, and I love the fact that it's really a one dish. Besides steaming the mussels, it's really a one dish meal. So now those shrimp are going to finish cooking up. The rice is continuing to cook. It's going to create that really nice brown on the bottom. I'm going to pull these mussels off the burners because I can see that they have opened up. Let me pull this out. Aha, those mussels. I know you can't see that because this other pan, let me put this right here. Can you guys see that? See how they opened up? Truly, that is all you need to cook mussels. So if you want to cook mussels in a really wonderful broth, substitute that broth for this water. So if you ever go out and eat mussels and they come in this amazing like coconut broth or whatever broth it is, you can duplicate that at home super simple. Just make sure that you clean these mussels well and then put that broth, season it on the stove top, seasoned however you want it. That's how simple it is to cook mussels. So let me pick these up and you can see. There we go. Absolutely gorgeous. Right there. Whoops, that one came out of its shell. We'll just put that one there. All right, dumping all that water out. But that's how easy it is to cook mussels, y'all. I love mussels. I love going out to eat mussels, but just make sure before you cook mussels that you clean them, you de-beard them, and if there are any mussels that have opened up before you cook them, toss them away unless they close up. One closed up, he was still fine. And then if they don't open when you cook them, toss them. So just a few, you know, tips to keep in mind to keep yourself safe when eating mussels. You definitely don't want to eat a mussel that is not in good shape. So, all right. So these shrimp are almost cooked. I'm going to give my paella a little bit more time to cook. And I'm going to just kind of peek down in there. Oh my, I see that a lot of this liquid has been absorbed. And that rice has made a really, really nice browning effect on the bottom. I may just go ahead and steal some out of there so that you can see what it looks like. Here we go. You get this. And then, are there any questions, Austin? So there was a, oh, go ahead.
Oh, here we are. Sorry. What kind of seasoning blend did you use?
Oh, okay. So the seasoning blend I used was my paella seasoning. You'll find this on my website. So I don't share the recipe, but you could go on the website, see the ingredients I have in my paella blend, and then come up with your own. I guarantee it's probably going to be great. Obviously, if you want to, you can try mine and, you know, that's great. But you don't need, you know, to buy mine to make this dish. Just get some of those seasonings. You'll need 2 tablespoons of seasonings for that rice dish. But, you know, give it a shot. This is what's fun about cooking. Absolutely fun. Then I saw another question about bone broth instead of stock. I think bone broth would absolutely work and be quite delicious. And then somebody said you're going to have plenty of leftovers. How long did this stay in the refrigerator? It will stay good for several days. It's basically a white rice dish. Now, your mussels and shrimp, not as long. So if you have some mussels or shrimp left over from your dish, store them separately so that, you know, your rice is going to last a little bit longer than that seafood that you've cooked. So you can, you know, not have to toss all your rice if your seafood goes bad. So what type and brand of shrimp is best for cooking in general? I don't really have a brand of shrimp that I use. I bought for this dish shrimp that is already peeled and deveined. When I buy shrimp, I will typically buy it frozen with the shells on, because I do like to remove those shells myself and save those shells to make shrimp stock for shrimp Creole, which is another recipe. It's on my website if you want to give that a try. So I like to buy it that way. Today I bought the shrimp already peeled and deveined because I knew I wouldn't have enough time to show you how to do all of those steps. So I bought them already ready to go. Okay, so there's the recipe in the comments. So we almost always do home cooking for all of our meals. I've been trying to introduce one new recipe a week in the rotation. Awesome. Preferably from different regions, cultures. That way we're always trying and learning something new all the time. Can't wait to try this recipe. Yay, you're going to love it. And then, is it a spicy seasoning blend? It's really not. I do put a little bit of red pepper and I think cayenne in this seasoning blend. No, there's no cayenne, just a little bit of red pepper. Red pepper, like red pepper flakes. I'm a red pepper flake fiend, for those of you who know me. It's got smoked paprika, turmeric, red pepper flakes, some kosher salt is already in there, rosemary and parsley. Super simple, super simple. Okay. So someone says, I'm now deeply dissatisfied with the tuna sandwich I've got for lunch. I know, right? And that's, I'm sorry. I wish I could share this wonderful dish with you. All right, so I am going to take this off. It's a tad bit early. I would love to have let this cook fully 10 minutes and then let it sit for maybe another 10 minutes. But the reality is, we must move on. So I'm going to take that off. It's going to be good regardless. There's going to be nothing wrong with it. Let me grab a spoon here and dip some of this out onto this plate. Oh, look at that rice. There is some really nice crunchy rice. I don't know if you guys can see that. It's stuck to the bottom. It's exactly what I want. Yeah, so there's some really dark spots right there. It's absolutely wonderful. And you can see the color. Now, paella, I should also mention, traditionally, paella is made with saffron. Do you know how outrageously expensive saffron is? I think it takes, I don't know, I'm sure this number is exaggerated, 1,000 crocus flowers to create 1 ounce of saffron. That's why it's so expensive. So instead of saffron, in my blend, I substitute turmeric for the saffron. So if you have saffron, that's absolutely traditional. You can include it in your paella. All right, so here is this beautiful paella. You can see all of these little crispy bits on the bottom, just waiting to be scooped up. And it is going to be delicious, absolutely delicious. All right, so we have 1 minute left. How many questions, any other comments that we have? Anybody? Austin? Okay, someone said they can't wait to try it. Okay, yay. Yes, you are welcome. Thank you for joining me again today. Don't forget to register August 15th Chili Mac. This is, the dish that my mother made for me when I was growing up as a kid. Definitely, comfort food. August 22nd, shish kebabs will probably be on the grill again, or we may do them inside. And then 29th of August is crab cakes. I cannot wait. So somebody asked, Austin, can we get a link to the registration page? So maybe you can help with that, Austin. Yeah. Oh, thank you. I forgot the mussels, y'all. Thank you for that. Here's how you add the mussels while you're waiting on that answer. Here, you just throw these mussels on top. I got to talking and completely forgot to add my mussels. It happens. And the last thing that you want to do is to take a little bit of lemon, Don't forget to do this because lemon will absolutely give your paella a pop. I just take a little bit of lemon and then put it all over the top of that paella. That's all you need to do. A little bit of lemon, and it's super good. All right. I think that's it now. Thanks for that reminder about the mussels, y'all. I will see you next time on the 15th. Be sure to register. I look forward to seeing y'all again.